Hey folks, Ted Kemster here. I've been asked to create a map for search and rescue operations using the real-time terrain follow function. And so I will start with that. First of all, a little context. Apologies for the German language interface. I don't really feel like going in and changing all my options right now, but I'm sure you'll be able to follow along as we go through this, because the items will be in the same location you would normally find them, and I will try to interpret as I go a bit. So first of all, middle on the left side here is mapping Flugroute, flight plan creation, and brings me to my library. I'm going to hit the plus sign at the top right of the screen to create a route. And the options here, I'm going to use the middle one, an area route, Gebietsroute, and that is going to allow me to select an area and automatically have the app create the flight lanes for me. So that pops up the map here. I'm going to choose the field behind my house. Oh, actually, okay, it's just making some dots. I'm going to select this area by tapping on the screen, not dragging yet. And then, of course, I can drag these points to move them and modify them any way I want. I'm not going to do that right now for the sake of time. So I've created the area I want overflown. I'm going to hit the blue and white check mark at the blue dot with the white check mark at the top left of the screen to save that. And I'm going to choose my device. Now, this has changed from the previous versions of firmware. Oh, for the record, I am using the latest version of the firmware as of about 18 January 2024. So if you are viewing this at a later time, then you may see a different interface, different options as they continue to improve or change the firmware and app versions. Anyway, I'm going to choose for the M3T. This was a little surprise to me that it wasn't on the list here. Well, it is. It's an M3 Enterprise, and then the camera model under that is M3T. So that's where you find your stuff in this version of the app. For the purposes of the automatic mapping of flight lanes, it needs to know which camera you're using to know what the width is of needs to be for those flight lanes. And so I'll select both wide and infrared, which is typically what I do when I'm having to create these maps for search and rescue. And I hit OK on that, and you see it created the flight lanes. You'll see the diagonal stripe to the middle of the flight area. That is the height optimization function. I don't know what they call that in English, but it's a Höhenlagenoptimierung, and basically it does a stripe at the end of your planned route to the center of the flight area to gather more altitude data. So I'm going to just turn that off. I generally turn that off when I'm in the field. I don't have time to collect data for them, but if I have time, I might also do that. It helps me help them improve maps. Regardless, let's continue. I'm going to just set my usual flight height here at 45 meters. You can multiply that by 3 and add 10% if you want feet, and that'll give you a rough equivalent. And I generally start around my start point, so I'm going to do my safe start height altitude as the same. The speed, I'm going to drop that back, let's just say right around 4, and I don't mess with the angle of the lanes unless it's really fouled up. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the height mode, altitude mode. Right now it's set to the default height relative to the start point, and what I'm going to do is above ground level, AGL. When you choose AGL, you'll see it turned lavender, purple over on the left side. It's the color it uses to say, basically, I'm going to dynamically figure that out. You can choose from a file, and I'm going to show you what that looks like very briefly, just so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to download it from the internet, and there you can see what the colors look like that are relative to the altitude it believes the ground is at various points on this map. I remember the first time I did that, I thought it was pretty cool. Now, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to change that to real-time follow. Follow in real time in Echtzeitfolge. So when I do that, you see it goes back to lavender, and that means it's basically going to figure it out as it goes, which is what it's going to do. You see how close to how many lanes there are? That is excessive, and that's because it's intended to be used for terrain mapping, not search and rescue. You'll see in the extended options down here at the bottom, it has the side and front overlap. So I'm going to change the side overlap to the minimum and the front overlap to the minimum. Actually, I'm going to increase the side back up to about 15%. Gives me a few more lanes, but it usually does. But one of the problems, difficulties I have seen from time to time is that the outer edges of the map parallel to the flight lanes may not have complete coverage to the edge. And that's the bottom line is if you're doing search and rescue, the way I do for fawn rescue, looking for bedded down fawns, I want to make sure I'm not missing any of those little balls of fur, which can be pretty hard, pretty easy to miss if you miss a stripe. Anyway, so that's it. I hit save here. That saves the map, and now I have the automatic terrain follow, real-time terrain follow map that's going to fly at 45 meters above ground level at all times. Hope that was useful. I apologize for any rambling or stuttering, and have a great day.